Welcome to Bleav in Arizona State, episode 27. I'm your host, Bannon Clark. We are continuing to count down the coverage to the Peach Bowl as, can't even believe I'm saying this out loud, Arizona State will be playing in the Peach Bowl. Evan, how are you doing, my guy? How have you been?
I'm good. It's been a great week. Obviously, excitement around the Peach Bowl. A lot of excitement around the show, Bannon. We've had a couple great guests, and continues today. We're excited to have Brad Denny on.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Really appreciate you having me on.
Yes, Brad, appreciate you once again. So for those that don't know who Brad is, I mean, this guy is the know-it-all about Arizona State. We were just talking off air. He's expected, you are going to, I shouldn't even say expecting, you are attending your 106th game, home or away, for Arizona State, riding the streak high since 2015. And for those that don't know who Brad is, he is a sports writer, social media producer at 3TV and CBS 5, and co-host one of my favorite podcasts, Speak of the Devils. We're excited to have you on. By the way, we're getting you on before Joe. Just want to let you know.
Appreciate it.
You can say whatever you want now, and we're going to have him on. We will be, actually, his episode's going to come out on Monday. We're having him on Friday. So you can say whatever you want about him, and it's all good. So we're just going to let you know that right now. But we'll just kind of get the ball rolling, just obviously in your time covering Arizona State. Did you expect this team to be going to the Peach Bowl in any way, shape, or form?
Certainly not this year. No way in hell. So before the year, seeing this team up close every day, covering every practice, you see, okay, this is a much better team than last year. The talent levels increased, more familiarity with the systems in place. But you also thought, okay, like Kenny Dillingham and staff, they took over a program in a deep hole. And so it would take a while, and that maybe that this 2024 season be the come up year. And I thought, maybe if some things broke their way and they got some better health, they'd be a much better team at 6-6, maybe. I think my official prediction on the podcast is like 5-7, just because heading into the year, it looked like a pretty daunting schedule. Did not see this run coming at all. I mean, I thought, that might be something we see from this program 2025, 2026, maybe, but for them to be this far ahead of schedule, I think is a real testament to Coach Dillingham, the staff, the players obviously better. Ultimately, though, I think the number one thing is just it goes back to the culture, and that might be just a cliche in a lot of different ways and maybe overused in sports in general. But I really think it's had a tangible impact. You see the buy-in, the fight, the resiliency of this Sun Devil team week in and week out. And, you just look at their record in one-score games. I mean, that I think is a testament to this program believing in what Kenny Dillingham and his staff is putting out there. And, ultimately it's gotten them a couple of years ahead of schedule.
Yeah, Brad, I think the one thing too when you're turning around a franchise, a team, a program, is the quarterback play. And so this year it's been nothing short of really good. And Sam Levitt, obviously they went and got him in the transfer portal. Redshirt freshman. Where does he stack up against some of the other Arizona State quarterbacks that you've had the pleasure of watching? And how do you think he's been made an effect on this kind of turnaround for this team?
Oh, it's been huge. Obviously, football just all kind of starts ultimately at the quarterback position. And, you're only going to go really as far as your quarterback's going to take it. And, we saw the flashes in spring that, he had a rough maybe first couple of weeks of spring practice, maybe trying to get his feet wet, getting the comfortable in the system of Arroyo and Dillingham. But those last 3 weeks of spring ball, you started to see the explosiveness, the willingness to attack downfield, and that rapport with Jordan Tyson really started to come along. And so, okay, you head into that into the summer. You see Jaden Rashada bolt out of town. That was because he saw with the kind of the writing on the wall that this was going to be Sam Levitt's team. But then, once the game started to count, you really haven't seen a whole lot of redshirt or like freshman moments, even though you redshirt freshman. Texas Tech a little bit. You saw him not play his best game, but week in, week out, he's grown, he's matured. And the thing that I think really impresses me the most and sets him apart from some of the others, whether it is the Mike Berkovicis or the Manny Wilkins, some of the more later era Sun Devil quarterbacks, that poise and that sixth sense in the pocket that I think that the elite quarterbacks have. I'm a big Steelers fan. I knew Ben Roethlisberger was special when the guys just like sense. Oh, there's no way you can physically be in your field of vision, but the rushers come there. You step up in the pocket, you make the play. It's just that maturity. Sam Levitt doesn't just one read and run like we saw maybe in the Manny Wilkins era. He will read. He will try to buy times with his legs. I just overall, you see where he is in his development right now. Super impressive, and obviously a huge reason why ASU is where they're at, and the fact that there's at least another year, probably two more of Sam Levitt and Kenny Dillingham working together and building that bond with some of the weapons in place. I mean, I think ASU let down, I think, Scott a little bit, not getting the PR machine for his Heisman campaign going. They need to be starting the stuff right now for Sam Levitt. Build that momentum, build that hype. He obviously had a disadvantage out west, but I think Sam Levitt is that caliber of quarterback for the next year or two and for the Sun Devils.
And I think it's great that you bring up maturity in Sam Levitt because I think we've seen a lot of maturity with this team. And with maturity, you see a lot of growth. So with the success of this team, I got to ask you, how have you seen this team grow? Just obviously with the success heading into the Peach Bowl, you've obviously been covering Arizona State sports for a long time. How have you seen this team grow as a whole?
I think one of the things that really has jumped out to me over the last 5-6 weeks, when they really started to hit this stride, is after the kind of the early mid part of the season where they had that success and really kind of maybe exceeding the external expectations. There's the team was really kind of jubilant, kind of almost celebratory. Hey, look at us now! But the last few weeks, about 5-6 weeks or so, at practices or at games or such, this is this is a different mentality. I think that they started to they've gotten past the thrill of, oh hey, we're a good football team. Like, no, we're gonna be a team that can be a force to be reckoned with. We're contenders, and we're gonna comport ourselves like contenders. Kenny Dillingham, after one of the recent wins, said the pregame team meal was or the night before. Usually it's a raucous affair, people laughing, making jokes. But he said that time it was just kind of quiet and somber. He's like, oh, this is gonna be really bad, or it's gonna be really good. And it turns to be really good. And I think it's that leadership council, especially at a place, some of the best leaders I've seen in dating back to 2011. The Xavier Alfords, for example, that have really helped to keep this team's mental focus. Not to just be better, to maybe make a run at a bowl, but okay. Now we're kicking into a different gear. Now we're contenders, and I think that's why they're in the playoff with the first round bye, is because they have been able to flip that switch from just like happy to be here to no, we're here and we're going to be a problem for some folks.
Right, you talk about that switch, and I have kind of thought about this a lot. Is when did you see that change for Arizona State of, okay, oh my God, we're good, to okay, no, we can really make a run and we can be a special team and be the team that wins this conference?
It might have been around the Utah game or something. I think that there was obviously, that Utah has really kind of battered ASU in recent years, and rightfully so. Utah's a hell of a program, but beating them, even granted, you could put the asterisk there. Cam Rising had one leg in that game, but ASU still was able to kind of get that monkey off the back, and then especially going on the road to Kansas State, hostile environment. That was a great atmosphere, a great home field advantage that they had. But for ASU to just jump out in the fashion that they did, to push around the Wildcats in the manner that they did, and then ultimately hold on for that win. That's when I thought, okay, doing it between the Buttes, we've seen that ASU's taken down some big time teams they had no business beating at home. But to do that on the road, I think is one of those things that's been a differentiator from this 2024 Sun Devil team from so many others, because it's been kind of a running joke in the press box. It's just all these things that the ASU teams of the past are the same old Devils. You see it on the Twitter feeds. We're just like, if the opponent scores a touchdown, oh, here comes the collapse. Oh, here comes. Well, no, like none of those same old Devils behaviors have really happened this year. So that's, again, goes back to the culture, the mentality, the being locked in, and like winning a huge game on the road against a ranked team, against a quality K-State program. That I thought, compared to just getting the Utah monkey off the back, I thought that was when ASU was on a full-on sprint to the playoff.
Well, it's good that you're talking about the same old Devils, because I want to speak of the Devils when it comes to your podcast, which you guys can follow that on Instagram and follow that wherever you get your podcast at Speak of the Devils. Now, obviously, you are the one. You are the first co-host we are having. I said we're gonna have Joe on a little later, so I'm gonna let you talk a little more about the podcast. Just with the success of this team, and we're gonna continue to harp on that. How has the podcast been impacted by that? Because for us, I mean, we started this middle of the Kansas game, because that's when we got asked to do the show by the Bleav Network, which, we're obviously appreciative of the Bleav Network.
Yeah, Brad, we've never had a bad year. I mean, we're doing so far so
we're starting
good.
off strong. You've been here
Lucky
for a
you
while.
guys.
So how has the podcast just been impacted by ASU's performance this season? And what has been the response just from your fans or just fans that you've talked to in general?
Yeah, so it's interesting. Over the years, we've been doing the show since 2011, and like heading into that season, it was the first year of the rebrand, Brock Osweiler. This is going to be the big time year, a lot of excitement, and then that ultimately just didn't turn out that way. It was kind of, but so this is obviously a fan base that has been through some highs, a lot of lows, and I think after the last couple of years, just the 2-3 win seasons, the black cloud of the NCAA investigation. Fans were ready for just like I would kind of liken it to a pressure release valve. And now that we joke, we paid our dues of talking about a lot of bad football, and now having week in week out, we're just we're running out of adjectives to describe the play of Cam Scadaboo. These are good first world problems to have, and our fan base has really been and listenership has obviously grown from where it's been, and that's awesome to see, and it's awesome I think just to talk about good football, to be still here in December talking about a season that is still in progress, that's going to continue into January and perhaps a little bit longer. So it's been a really fun ride. As I said, we paid our dues and been through this team through the thick and thin, and some lean years, and trying to figure out what can we talk about around this program. Granted, there's always something university, but sometimes when it's bad and it just stays bad, it gets a little tedious, and you got to try to find a way that keep your audience engaged. But winning is good, as Joe likes to say. So it's been a really nice ride to see, and hopefully the way the trajectory of the program is pointed right now, looks like we'll be on this upward slope in talking about all Sun Devil wins for the years to come.
Yeah, Brad, and you talked about since 2011, a lot of bad in there, sure, but definitely some good. You talk about the 2013 and 2014 under Todd Graham, and what have been some of your favorite games, favorite seasons that you've had the ability to be there? We talked about 106 straight games that you've been to, but yeah, what has been some of your favorite events that you've been able to cover for Arizona State football?
Oh man, I would say the Jail Mary game was pretty fun. Just like the last 8 minutes of that game, where people remember the catch, and rightfully so, but there was such an absurd sequence of events that had all the dominoes had to fall the exact right way just for ASU to be in a position to throw the Hail Mary. And I just remember being down on the field on the sideline next to the double bench, and just everybody, we were kind of on the far end away from where Jalen caught it, but just I remember leaning over and trying to look, and just this wall of white, just everybody, the whole bench looking on the field, and I'm like, what's happening? And then I see this streak of white just pass through as Jalen jumps through, catches the ball. And then I just remember this very kind of pregnant pause in the stadium. Just everybody's like, what the hell happened? Oh my God. And then just the whole bench just clears. And I'm like, all right, well, phone's out. I'm running. I'm trying to snap photos and get videos and everything like that. But it's just, really cool to see, to be part of those moments, to be able to, as a member of the media, to chronicle those things. And, that was obviously is just kind of the sheer thrill of excitement. But I think one of the things that I've really enjoyed is just Caleb McCullough is a great example. Is just guys I've covered for years that have put in the hard work, that don't get the recognition, but then when they finally get their moment in the sun, they step up in a huge way. So that was really kind of cool to see him put together the performance in the Utah game with a couple of picks as well. Some of the absurd N'Keal Harry catches and moments of just how in the physical world in which we occupy does he do that, and all that stuff. There's been a lot of good and a lot of rewarding elements. And this is, perhaps there's more. Maybe the sleeping giant is finally awake. Who knows if Kenny Dillingham's finally the guy to do that? But yeah, I would I'd say just kind of the thrill of the moment. I mean, Jalen, the Jail Mary is up there pretty high.
Once again, we have Brad Denny here on Bleav in ASU. Now, obviously, got to talk a little more Peach Bowl with you. Arizona State's obviously in that on New Year's Eve, 1 p.m. Eastern. What would a win for Arizona State mean for the future of this program? Obviously, the transfer portal's coming out. Obviously, Arizona State signed some pretty good guys, as we know, as of recent. Obviously, saw the Clemson wide receiver. But I also want you to break down what you have seen, if you've already seen, just from this upcoming matchup, which will be happening this weekend. Clemson versus Texas. Obviously, we do play the winner. Just break down what you've seen from both of those teams as we prepare for this Peach Bowl game.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a real tough matchup for ASU either way, but also one that I think that they'll be very much in the mix for. 'Cause obviously you look at Texas and all the Tempe to Texas. So like there's all the narrative there is interesting, but Texas for as being as talented of a team they are, and obviously one of the elite teams in the country over the last couple seasons, they have that tendency, that self-destructive tendency, like whereas handful of times a game, or maybe Quinn Ewers just makes them catastrophically dumb. Those type of teams that have that are really just kind of can't get them out of their own, or can't get themselves out of their own way. And I think that in a particular potential matchup there, ASU would probably obviously be out talented, but we've seen that the fight and the resiliency. Could they take advantage of those key moments there? When there's a ridiculous turnover or a turn of events in their favor. Clemson is real interesting because they're just kind of, I think, for at least in my perspective, kind of hung around. I mean, they obviously Dabo's done what he's done over the course of his career, but I think that would be the more favorable matchup for ASU in terms. I think the early spreads came out like ASU would be a 4.5 point dog versus like 13-14 against Texas. I think that's about fair. But I do think that with the quarterback play for both of the programs and ASU's opportunistic defense, I think that could be really the key for ASU in either case of the whoever wins on Saturday.
Brad, I think we talked to Ben in reference to Peach Bowl and the transfer portal. Obviously, that's been kind of a new thing for you to cover, right? That it's kind of unprecedented for everybody. But how have you seen it just from the past few years and what we've had coming into this program to now feels like people want to play with Levitt and people want to come play for Kenny? How have you seen a difference and shift just based on this year and the success of the transfer portal for ASU?
Yeah, I mean, ASU is not where they're at right now without the transfer portal. I forget the exact number. It was like 4 or 5 guys that are still here from the Herm era. I mean, this is an entirely new team that has been brought in by and large through the transfer portal. You just look at basically the entire starting lineup for the Sun Devils at one point was a transfer here to Tempe. So they're not here without the transfer portal. And yeah, as you mentioned, now all of a sudden, for the first cycle or two for Kenny, you're selling them on the Bleav and the hope and the vision. Now you're selling them on a playoff team. Come join us. You're the missing piece that can take us from maybe quarterfinals or semifinal to a national championship. And so that obviously drastically impacts the sales pitch for the staff in the best possible way. In addition to all the cool things that brought the Camp Scadaboos, Xavier Alfords, and Sam Levitts to town, the key players that are now going to be that have been the core this year, and some of the young guys are going to be the core for years to come. Now you're like, instead of you've done like the revamping and the big bulk work. Now you're fine tuning. You're finding whether it is Jesus Gomez being a reliable place kicker who can hit from outside of 40 yards or something along those things. Now you're finding the missing ingredients and you're fine tuning. You're putting the good polish on this team. And so again, I going back to kind of the earlier point on the timeline, I thought that would be something that they would maybe do in 25, 26 or something. Now they're heading to do that into 25. And so now with so many guys, the key guys, we see like every day, a few more of the key players on this team saying they're happy to be back, they're ready to go, and they're bought in. And so now it's like, it's optimization rather than just complete overhaul, which is a great position for Sun Devil trajectory.
All right, I'm going to end on this question. You've been obviously covering Arizona sports for a long time, so I'm going to put you on the spot real quick, Brad. I want you to give me your Mount Rushmore of Arizona State football players, if you can.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah, that's a hell of a question. Actually, it was during the Big 12 title game. I actually tweeted that out to folks and asking like, is Scat on that list? Because I think all of a sudden, like that used to be like a preposterous notion, and now he's like checking some boxes. Obviously, Jake Plummer, like number one. I mean, I think right there. I've lived my whole life in the Valley. He's far and away, I think, the most beloved player. Obviously, you put Pat on there as well, so I think you got those two firmly in there. Then I think just in terms of just sheer dominance, like Suggs, like he was just so incredible, and just what he did was ridiculous. I mean, it's really hard because you look back at it and you don't want to slight like the players that say like Randall McDaniel might be the best offensive lineman to ever play football, one of the most athletically gifted freaks in the best possible way that's ever put on the maroon and gold, or Mike Haynes, or Danny White. But that's that fourth spot, but I think if Scat gets like a playoff win, because like he checked off the box, beat U of A, rewriting the record book as we speak, and I have not seen a person since Jake have this level of like folk hero status, and that I think that those intangibles I think are what separates him, and the impact and just how this fan base and this state have really rallied to him. I think he's like one step away from getting on there right now. I mean, it doesn't have, I won't put the burden of you have to win the natty on him, but I think that he's close for that
Who's
fourth
the fourth?
spot.
So if Scat's not there, then are you going Randall? Are we saying Scat tentatively right now, or are we going?
Okay, Scat is still like on the outside looking in right now.
Okay, outside looking in. Okay.
Yeah, and I would probably have to say, Mike Haynes. I mean, because he's
Good list.
maybe the best corner in the prior era of pro football. I mean, he's a gold jacket guy, Hall of Famer at the college level too. Just the sheer dominance and what he meant, and so you got to give a nod to those Cush era Sun Devils. So many greats that could be in that discussion as well. But just the fact that we're having a conversation like is Scat worthy in that mix just really shows the level of season, the level of impact that he's had on this program. But to be mentioned in that same conversation, I think is a testament to him, and it's one that he's earned. I mean, not to say that this is a flash in the pan or anything like that, but I think that what he's done, and perhaps in 5 years we look back at him being kind of the instigator and just kind of the person that really helped flip the resurgence and wake that giant up for ASU football.
100%.
I was going to say that, Brad. I think that as you sit back and take 5-6 years from Scat and see where this program heads, we could sit in Scat's tenure here at Arizona State could age extremely well, and you could be looked at as the guy who really turned this ship around. I mean, from going from 3-9 to where they're at now in just his 2 years here is kind of a testament alone. But I think it could age even better in 5-6 years from now.
100%. I totally agree.
Well, Brad, we appreciate you coming on the podcast. Make sure you guys are following Speak of the Devils, and make sure you're following Brad as well on Instagram, guys, at bdenny29. Just want to make sure we get that out there. Brad, appreciate you. Hopefully I will be seeing you at the Peach Bowl. Once again, take care and go Devils.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for
Appreciate
coming
it.
on, Brad.